Hello everyone, today I'll show you a comparison between this normal standard phone, a Pixel 8 Pro, and this Sony A7 Mark II standard mid-range camera. So how does they compare in photogrammetry? Do I need a camera? Is the phone good enough? Well, stay to the end and I will show you. Let's get started. So I found a beautiful test piece in my basement. This corner part, I will do some parts of the walls on each side and the corner. It looks quite boring, but I like the texture. Really rough and old and crumbly, so I like it. That could be a nice tileable texture if I shoot this part with the flash. And I will shoot everything with my phone and show you the difference in what the difference is between shooting with your phone, shooting the pictures with your camera, porting them over to your PC, adjusting them and running them through a fully fledged photogrammetry software like Metashape. So when I'm done scanning or taking all the pictures I want, I put everything into Lightroom. For my phone, I just connect it with my PC and transfer it over because sometimes Google Drive is a little buggy. I try to upload it, but yeah, it's not always working. And I put everything into Lightroom and make a few adjustments because if you're scanning stuff, you don't need to use the raw images like they are. You need to maybe change the white balance, add sharpness, delete a little bit of noise. And that's what I'm always doing with my scans. I didn't do any color correction because it's just a test. I will never use this asset. But that's the magic in photogrammetry, adjusting everything in Lightroom. And when that's done, I export everything into Metashape and run it through my normal workflow, which is aligning the images. And based on the vertices, I calculate the depth maps, which will result into the final 3D model. And I do that for both the cam and the phone model. And in the end, we will end up with both meshes we will now compare. So if we are comparing the meshes in Metashape, we can see a little bit of a difference. Ignore the color for now because everything went through Lightroom, yeah, but the cameras have different color calibrations and I didn't even bother calibrating because I will never use these assets, so there is no need to do that. But I started out with about 150,000 points and ended up with about 55 million triangles, which is pretty decent for a phone, and there is enough to work with. If I go to the solid model without any textures, we can see it's pretty good, but it's a little bit more noisy than the camera model. That could be because of the amount of images. So here in the top right corner, it's obviously missing images, so there isn't so much detail. And the more you go to the main part, like this 90-degree angle, the better it gets. Maybe I didn't shoot enough on the right side, but if you look at the asset from a distance like this and put it on textured, it's still really good for a phone. So if you fix this part and maybe fix the texture a little bit in Substance Painter or Photoshop, you can easily use it in a game. So let's jump over to the cam model. So this one has about 10 million triangles more, 65 million, but it also has more images. And that's because this one was shot with a 50mm lens. Because of the small basement we have, I needed to have more images because I couldn't go farther back. So I ended up with more images. Obviously the camera quality will be better than the phone. There is no way around it. The question here is just how much. And if we look at the solid model, we can see it's pretty good. It's smooth. It has all the noisy parts in it, which this wall really has. So it's all good here. But compared to the phone isn't too far off. That looks really good. Also this corner here, so where it's going over to the floor. That's really solid. And if we switch back to the texture, normally you have just a little bit more detail in stuff like this. Like small areas where the detail is, like reading text, or this strange odd color and these paint drops. That's the stuff where the camera is way better. And if you have a better lens on it, like if I would have used my 24 to 70 millimeter lens, it would be even sharper and even better. And the sharper the image is, the more triangles or faces you will get. But that's just the number. So it doesn't really matter if you have 60 million or 70 million, because you just bake from this mesh. You don't use it in the end. And you still can increase the texture resolution or the look of the texture and make it a little bit more sharper later on. So I would say let's throw them both into Marmoset and compare them side to side and see how good did the phone hold up. So in the end we can see our results. We have a phone wall and a cam wall, and if I don't click the meshes, it's pretty hard to see which one is which. I mean, I had a few minutes between the recordings, and I think from just looking at it, the cam wall, so made with the camera obviously, is this one here on the left, and the phone one is on the right, and that, yeah, is true. The difference are really in the details, I think. So if we zoom in, and I know because I know this wall, there is something written on it, and you can still see it here, but I couldn't say what it's written here. Looks like numbers. If we look on this wall, it's a little bit easier to read. So it's a 4, it's a 6, it's a 5, it's a 0. No idea what it means, but I can read it. And that's the main difference. The mesh itself is a little bit more noisy. It has a little, strange error part here. That's not really a problem. That could be fixed in ZBrush in like a few seconds. But compared to the camera mesh, it's a little bit more on the noisy side, but the general quality is pretty good. But the main difference will always be small stuff like this here, like this hole. If you go really close, it's a little bit blurry. And if we rotate the light real quick, like so, and look here, it's not that blurry anymore. Well, it makes sense because the sensor in the camera is way bigger. But we are comparing about 1,000 euros for the camera and then another 200 for the lens against 800 for the whole phone. So I have no idea how much the camera module is in the phone, but I guess it's less than the price of the camera. And if you're looking from this distance, you can't really tell the difference anymore. The only difference in the end is the color. And that's an easy fix. So the phone did a great job. And if you're just getting started with photogrammetry, there are enough examples on the internet you can look at where people are only using a phone for scanning trees, walks, forest ground, stuff like that. And it works really well. So if you're interested in photogrammetry, I highly suggest just take your phone, put it in RAW mode, so you are shooting RAW images and not JPEGs, and run them through Lightroom, put them in Metashape. You can test it for, I guess, 30 days and see what the results are. And if you're still interested, go ahead, spend your money on photogrammetry gear, because it's a really good method for creating assets, and the future looks really bright for photogrammetry, so it makes sense to hop on the train and learn it. And yeah, as you can see, I hope you can see it on the screen, the results are really, really close to each other. And if we would scan a wok, the results would be even closer. Also talking about woks, if you are interested in really high realistic woks close to photogrammetry level and you want to create them in no time, you really should check out this plugin for Blender where I show you what it can do. It's really incredible.